what's interesting is the concept. I was talking to my boy, and you think of high school, and you think, and I don't know if you heard the saying that you're more likely to stay with your wife if you marry like your high school sweetheart.
I have heard that.
Your college sweetheart, because it's like once that life gets the kick in, it gets a little bit different.
Yep.
And so it's interesting. I'm trying to think of some high school sweethearts that kept it going when we were there.
Uh-huh.
I wish I could call it out, but I don't know though. I haven't.
Yeah, I don't think Brandon, I mean, even during his time, I don't think he mentioned too many groups. Like I said, I would know people if I seen them. Some names obviously stand out, but people that I don't remember too many of those people that were like that hung, that you continually seen them together. From y'all's era. I mean, I really don't. Nobody stands out because everybody was always with somebody, always rotating. I mean, everybody was always hanging out with so many. There were so many mixtures of people. Like they was just coming and going.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, well, yeah. People sharing people. I mean, all types of things going on. So, I mean, it's just basically, wherever the party was, whoever was there was together. That's how. I'm just saying, man.
Wherever the party was, that's what happened in the moment. Dog, like fam, listen. The party was like the end all be all. Like, it's so much stuff that happened at them parties. It was literally the gathering spot. There was sharing, there was swinging, there was deceit, there was beer. It was just
out of that. I mean, I remember I tried to tell after a while. I told Brandon, he just hanging out with just so many different types. He'd go from hanging out with y'all or whoever, and then he'd be with another group, and it might be a class under y'all, and it might be a class above y'all. And I'm like, man, how do you hang out with Like, I would consistently be hanging out with the same. Like, you would want to think you would hang out with the same people, but like I said, there was so much going on that you just always end up hanging out with someone. I'm like, but that's not good. That's after a while you think about it, it's just not a good mix because everybody's doing different stuff, and then, like you said, you can only party so much, and then everybody starts doing other stuff. And you do more stuff. I'm like, and you hear stuff, and people, oh, well, such and such, and they did this or they did that, and I'm like, man, you go from hanging with one brother, next thing you know, you're hanging with the next brother or the younger brother, the one under him. And I remember, I'm there seeing so many people come and go. I'm getting confused, like who's who? I'm like, not even to say names, but I'm like, God, what's going on? I'm like, okay, I think one of them might have passed away, but like you said, rest in peace. But I mean, hey,
Well, you understand. Like, you got to understand. For me, it's a little interesting for me, right? Because I was probably labeled a troublemaker to a degree. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting of like where people end up in life.
Yeah.
As we talk about in the way people. And I feel that with all the privilege and exposure, opportunity, that town produced a lot of in the way people.
Yes.
And not only that, but where are you at where you're in the way? And that's when it gets really scary. We're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, what do you do? Like, what is that? And that's not shitting on anybody, but you got to understand from my perspective, right? Like, you see those who were privileged, they judged, they, they almost was like, hey, Single. You remember that? You know, that was my name, Single.
Call everybody by their last name, yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So it was just interesting. It's interesting that, you know, what is it? Fucking 20 years later, it's interesting to kind of see how these things work out. You know, all the people who had all the privilege, and when I say all the privilege, parents on PTO or whatever, the PTA, whatever that little thing is, they're living in Geist Lake in 6 bedroom, 5 bathroom houses, communities, and they're like, oh yeah, they're basically selling an insurance for State Farm, and it's fine, but you would expect a little bit more from people who had those opportunities, which I find is super interesting. And it's a thing that I noticed just with how these people have maneuvered life. And I don't know if it's a calling to say like shit was too easy for them before, so it was no place for them to like go afterwards once they were kind of on their own, or, you know, did they get an inheritance and they're just like, yo, fuck it, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to be in the way because I really want to have to get it because I already got it.
Well, yeah, you know, but that's how a lot of families have stayed rich, because they just pass on the money to generation. And I'm not saying some of them didn't work for it, but a lot of them didn't. It just got passed on to them.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, you got a lot of privileged kids around, which still today, we're probably in the most privileged generation ever. Nobody wants to do anything. Even kids that don't belong to a family that's got a lot. You know, a lot of those aren't around, but a lot of families are around like that. But yeah, I looked around, like I said, I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but this is not real life. I always say it that I'm like, this is not real life, man. I mean, like you said, you get over, like, where are you? Like, you would think these people are going places. A lot of them didn't. You know, from, you know, things I'm hearing, you know, people, you know, things I heard Brandon say, people, I mean, coming back, and there's some of them are still there trying to, like, still living that life, that dream. I'm like, what? So did any of y'all go to school? I'm like, I guess some of them did. Some of them went to IU, Purdue, and Ball State, but then, like you said, they went to part 2. Let's continue this party. But they had already partied enough in high school, and then by that time, the party was almost over because they were starting to shut down. They didn't party too hard. So now they're getting with the real partiers. Now you going to the college where they party for real. I'm like, well, yeah, y'all partying hard back there, but like, are y'all ready for this one?